Okay, hey guys, it's Paul from Babel Tech here, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to configure the email squeeze page pop-up. That's that form that collects email addresses for your newsletter from visitors to your site. So I'm referring, of course, to this pop-up element here. So you would put this, or you would use this to collect emails from visitors. You would offer them something like a study guide PDF. In this case, just as an example, I'm saying perhaps you'll offer them also like an MP3 recording to give some vocabulary training or listening practice, something like that. So that's really up to you. But this squeeze page pop-up is available to collect these email addresses. So let's talk about how to configure this and set it up according to the way you want to have it. So this is the front page of the site, of course. Let's take a look at the back end. So this is your dashboard. So what you want to do is come over here to this option, Convert Pro. So Convert Pro is the name of the plugin that controls this this pop-up form. So if we click on Dashboard, okay, and so at the moment we've only got one call to action on here, um, the one pop-up. Potentially you can create more than one, so you could create like different kinds of email collection forms. For example, you can create one which appears when users move their mouse off the page. We call that an exit intent pop-up. So if users do that action as if they're going to leave your page, you can set up a pop-up so that it appears at that time, which is a pretty good option, I think. You could also embed the actual form in the page itself. So rather than click on a button to pop it up, they can just enter on the page itself. So it's up to you how you want to do that. I'm not going to go into those options today. I think I'll save that for a different video. I just want to cover the basics of how to edit this pop-up element. So let's take a look. So if I click on this one, the exam prep modal pop-up. So we call those pop-ups modals actually. So it's a modal pop-up. Okay, so what you'll see is this is what the visitor to the site gets to see when they click on that button. You'll notice up here at the top we've got a mobile version as well, or smartphone version. So it looks like that needs to be edited a little bit. Let's do that now. Okay, and I'm going to save that. Right, so we have those options to have a desktop version, which also applies to laptops. Sorry, which also applies to tablets and the smartphone version. So there are three different steps to setting up a modal pop-up. So there's the design step, and you can see here if I click. Okay, let's click here. Right, so if I click on that wheel, that configuration wheel, that opens up all these different options for determining the width of the pop-up, the height of the pop-up, the background. This is the image we're using here. If I wanted to change that image, I could. Yep, so we're using an overlay. We're using like a dark color overlay. So that just makes the white text stand out a bit more, gives it a bit more contrast, makes it pop a little more. So all of these configuration options are here. If I click on something like this, you can see I can edit the text, for example. If I wanted to add in the words your free English study guide, and so I could do that if I wanted to. I could maybe drag that out a bit. There we go. So you can edit anything on this page. I can click on the email field here. Um, so it's got your email address in there as a placeholder. So I've entered the placeholder text, as you can see. This button, so I can edit what it says there. Instead of send me the study guide, I could make it say send me the PDF or something else. Now I'll just move myself out of the way. Now this action down here, so this is kind of an important thing to be aware of. So what do we want to happen when someone clicks on this button? Now, of course, they get added to your newsletter mailing list, and within your newsletter mail list, you can set up an autoresponder so that they can get an email back immediately. So if you're using something like MailChimp, for example, which is a good free popular option, you can do that. But what do we want to have happen on this page itself when someone clicks the send me the study guide button? Well, we've set it up here to submit the form and then go to the URL. They get a brief message saying thank you, and then they get passed over to this URL, the email offer thank you. So that means that they get sent to a thank you page after they submit their email. And that's a good idea. It's kind of best practice to do it that way for a couple of reasons. One is it helps with your analytics. You can see how many people have actually gone through the process of submitting their email address compared to the people who activated the pop-up. And also it's just good for the customer experience as well. They can see that the process was successful, and it also gives you a chance to maybe make them aware of like your social media accounts and ask them to follow you on Facebook or Twitter or whatever you have. So yeah, so we can see that there are a lot of design options on here. I can add elements. I can add a heading, a subheading, add paragraph, image, even a video. A countdown, that's an interesting one. So like if you've got an offer that's limited by time. So if you've got an offer that's like only available within a certain time period, you could do that. Um, so form options, we can change around the typography, the alignment there, styling, etc. Um, you can choose a different button style if you like. If you want to add shapes to your pop-up, you can. Like a heart icon there might be interesting. Um, yeah, so there's lots of ways that you can edit this. We also have a grid option. So if I click on grid, you can see I get like this background grid appearing, and this helps with when you're trying to align things so that it looks good. So having that grid there can be helpful. All right, so that's the design, and having done that, you want to configure a couple of things. So this is where we configure what actually what activates this pop-up. So you can see here we've got a couple of things checked. One is after a few seconds on the page. I think by default it's 1 second, um, and that's probably a good thing to have. I believe that it's there to as a kind of protection against spam bots. Um, so if you set this condition that the visitor has to be on the page for a minimum amount of time, it's likely going to prevent any spam bots from activating your button. But the key one here is this on click down the bottom here. So display when user clicks a link button or an element, yes. Okay. And you can see in here this field here, it says enter your CSS class or ID, and you can see here I've got dot modal pop-up exam. So that's like that's a class name, and we're going to use that on the front end. So you can basically use this to tie the pop-up to any button on your front end that has this class in it. We'll see what I mean in a minute. So yeah, so that's how you set up the action, which is to launch on click. Target. So if you wanted to, let's say for example, you have like an exit intent pop-up, but you don't want that to appear on every page of the site. So you could specify, instead of the entire site here, you could choose a particular URL, particular page where you wanted that exit intent pop-up to happen, and so on. So there are different options here for targeting, depending on what type of users are coming to the site. Cookies. So this is just to determine, like, if somebody sees your pop-up and then they convert. So if they go through and they go through that process, do you want to show them that pop-up again? Probably not. So this is hide for X number of days after conversion. So this is I think particularly important for something like an exit intent pop-up, where it just happens automatically. Maybe not so important for this case where they need to click a button. And the other configuration setting here is for hide for X number of days after closing. So again, with the case of like an exit intent pop-up, if they see that pop-up and they say not interested today, hit the X button. This means that they won't get that. They won't be given that again for the next 14 days, assuming they come to your site again. So you don't want to, if you don't want to bug people and pester people too much with these exit intent pop-ups, you can set it accordingly here, or you could set it to, like, 1 day. So if they come to your site the next day, then they get that same pop-up again. So it's really up to you how you want to set things up. So yeah, so this is these are the configuration options. Now I've connected this one to MailChimp. So when you create a MailChimp account, MailChimp will ask you to create a list, like a newsletter list, and you'll give that a name, and then so when you're creating this pop-up here, you'll need to connect it to MailChimp and choose that list, which I've done here. Okay, so this is tied to my Babel Tech list. This option here, enable double opt-in. So what does that mean? That means that, like, if somebody puts their email into your pop-up, they'll get an email asking them to confirm that they wanted it. So that's just like making doubly sure that that people who are subscribing actually want to get your emails. So there's arguments for and against whether that's a good idea. So in this case, I haven't enabled it. Okay, so that's how you set up an integration with MailChimp. Let's say I want to use some different kind of email newsletter service. Okay, in that case, I could choose from any of these. So there's a bunch of other email marketing applications I can choose from here, like Aweber's pretty popular. Active Campaign's pretty popular. One that I like as an alternative is maybe SendFox. I believe they have a lifetime deal offer on at the moment. I'm not sure how long that's gonna be available. But if you're just getting started, I think MailChimp's fine. I think MailChimp's fine to use. Right. Oops, we have to choose a list here. Okay. Right. Um, and also something else you might want to do is in your email here. So check if you click on that, you can tell the this pop-up plugin where to send a notification email. So if you want to get notified every time somebody signs up for your list, which is kind of nice, then you can just tell it to, hey, send me a notification at this email address. And when you make any changes like this, you want to save them as well. So let's do that. And of course, you got an undo button here and a redo button. You want to make sure that this is set to published, so we're publishing any changes that we've made. And that's really it. That's what you need to do on the back end to create this pop-up. If we come back to the front end here, and if I activate my page editor, you can see when I hover over here, I get this blue outline, which means I can select this element, the button element. It says here button. And if I come over to advanced and just move myself out of the way, and you can see here, so under HTML element, class, so I've got the, there's a, oh boy, I'm getting bombarded with YouTube notifications. You can see here a class of modal pop-up exams. So because I remember I showed you that's the class that we need to have under the button actions. So I've added that class name to this button. So now the system knows whenever someone clicks on this button that it activates the pop-up. All right, so I'll just discard those changes. Not that there were any changes. So yeah, so that's it. So, and of course, on this page, we've got multiple pop-ups here. There's a second one down here. All right, so if you make any changes, like if you were to add a new pop-up, for example, a different pop-up, you would want to edit this button as well by adding that new class in there as well, so the system knows, this page knows that you'd have two different pop-ups if you did it that way. All right, well, so I hope that helps with setting up the email squeeze page pop-up form. If you have any questions, of course, reach out to me and ask, and I'll do my best to help. So thanks very much. Bye for now.